Um, there we go. All righty. So the recording has started. Again, this will be posted on YouTube shortly after the call as well. And we'll be sending out thank you emails to everybody for joining, of course. So again, really appreciative of everyone's time here. Really looking forward to diving into things. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Lewis, if you can just confirm that everything comes through clearly.
Yes, I can see everything on my end.
Fantastic. So thank you everybody for joining. What we're going to talk about in the first kind of roughly 20, 30 minutes of this webinar is for all of our new clients, maybe even some existing ones to help give you a refresher on what it is we do here at CLEATUS. Essentially, we are an AI that finds, bids, and wins government contracts. And that means a lot of different things for a lot of different companies and a lot of different industries. But one thing that you'll see throughout this presentation is our specialty is handling anything and everything. If it's niche, if it's a different industry, if it's a certain process that you need automated, ultimately, we help create an operating system that helps your business scale. Whether it's breaking into the industry or you're already in it and you're looking to scale, the use cases are ultimately all achievable with AI. That's why we lean into agentic AI. Our agents are able to learn your business, understand your processes, and then actually execute them for you autonomously. So again, very broad topic that can be applied to so many different business functions, but we're going to give some really good examples as we go through here and then end the presentation with a live example. To give you kind of a brief overview, we're a very end-to-end platform. We kind of typically say it's the everything platform, the platform that will accomplish any particular task in as it relates to GovCon, capture, BD, proposal, everything from discovery to capture up until proposal, and even after proposal, post-award. Our agents are able to perform a variety of different actions, and ultimately they're all custom. That's why we work with over 500 contractors across every conceivable industry and who have won a little over $1 billion in contracts just in 2025 alone. We're headquartered right here in Northern Virginia, Arlington, to be specific, right outside the nation's capital, but we service contractors nationwide, again, in just about any conceivable industry. Some of the main things that we drive for our teams are outcomes. The way that we frame the value proposition of CLEATUS is the more workflows, the more tasks, the more things that you make CLEATUS do, the more value you're going to receive from CLEATUS. A lot of times, what we commonly see is that teams or individuals are becoming multiple times more productive. And a team ultimately can become, oftentimes cited 6x more productive with the exact same headcount. And so your overhead cost or your time spent performing a certain action drops radically, in some cases 90%. Typically, we see proposal workflows and capture workflows, whether they be research or writing based, take a really long time, right? Tens of hours a week. We're able to create these automations that completely automate this process as well. Ultimately, what this all leads into is a higher win rate, a higher success rate, oftentimes increasing by about 75% for the majority of opportunities that you pursue. Now, this is going to look different for different teams, right? Your goal might be to quadruple your proposal output, or your goal might be to break into a new market. Well, Cletus is going to be able to help you just the same. There's some really good use cases and really good stories built around these 6 or 7 examples of companies on our website. These are 3 really good ones we want to highlight, where customers have used the tool, leveraged it, and achieved and exceeded some of their goals, and ultimately driven that outcome. And that's really what our agents are driving for you. Something that we typically like to go through is visualizing how we're currently doing things, right? Or how are we currently finding opportunities? Are we spending tens of hours on SAM or state and local sites or scrolling through GSA eBuy agency portals? Are we spending time looking for bids and are we qualifying them? Is that taking time? Are we reading through solicitations to make that go, no go decision? Understanding this process for us allows us to help you automate them. And really, that's what Cletus is going to do, really from the get-go. And you'll see this if you decide to start a 7-day free trial with us, is capture and opportunity sourcing discovery. These are the first things that Cletus is going to automate for you from day one. So already ton of value being saved. But beyond that, the pipeline visibility, right? Where are we working on? What is there a single source of truth that tracks every opportunity that's in our pipeline? Who's assigned? What tasks need to be completed? A lot of times we see a lot of teams still operating just in Excel or piecemeal. Again, having a single place that's connected to all these other systems is really what it's all about. Of course, proposal writing, typically one of the longest polls when it comes to time investment into this process. Cleese is going to drastically reduce that, but it's going to automate things in a way that still follows your methodologies, your processes, your technical data, and we're going to definitely talk about that a little bit as well. But Again, understanding that process allows us to just tailor it more because ultimately we don't want to create things that are generic. And that's what our proposal writer is perfectly tuned for. Competitive intelligence, that's another one that we see a lot of teams often overlook, whether it be researching your competitors, performing a black hat analysis, or even just understanding who else might be bidding on a contract and for how much. This is really critical information. We have a lot of competitive intel and market intelligence in our platform, and we're going to show you how all of it's at your fingertips now because we have an agent on top of it. The bottom one here, this is the big one, automate GovCon workflows. We talk about this a lot. The true force multiplier in this industry and for your business is going to be automating these different tasks and functions. And we're going to show you again how that's done, how these agents are going to be built, customized, and learn from your actual processes. We're going to start with capture, right? Daily matches tailored to your business. We think of our capture agent as really like a capture manager that doesn't sleep. Essentially, when you first onboard, your capture agent is going to learn about your business, right? It's going to understand your capabilities. It's going to understand your past performances, your certifications, what you have, what you don't have. But then it's going to learn your preferences. It's going to understand, hey, I like contracts in this size, or I really want to avoid contracts with this requirement. Whatever they may be, they're inherently custom to you, but CLEATUS knows these things. And so because it has, 30, 40,000 different sources of opportunities, we have the entire market plus all this information about you, and we're able to do really, really solid matching. Typically, this is a daily process. It's going to be highlighting, the shortlisting the opportunities out of that entire market, the millions of opportunities that are out there, and it's going to cite the best ones for you, right? It's going to explain the pros, the cons, and the score, so you can look at this opportunity and decide, yes, we're going to potentially pursue this. In terms of some sources that we do connect to, we like to oftentimes cite, of course, sam.gov, GSA eBuy, DIBS, every single state, local agency, city, all the thousands and thousands of different sources. Some recent connections to platforms for sitters and sitters, grants. We even do forecasting, so getting ahead of opportunities well before they're solicited. We do a little bit of that as well. We both forecast actual government forecasted opportunities as well as project contracts that haven't even come out for bid yet, pre-forecasting. So not only are you seeing what's currently active, you're also getting a really good fit into or a really good idea of what's upcoming as well. Contracting vehicles, of course. We even do subcontracts, so we even understand what opportunities might be potential subcontracts for you. So really, anything that's out there, we're going to know. We'll have all the awards as well, all that historical data. Again, tens of thousands of sources there. Pipeline is also, again, a really important element of the platform, essentially being able to track all your opportunities from start to finish. Organizing it all into one place so that your entire team is working out of a single place is really important. Obviously, on our pipeline, these cards relate to the specific opportunities or solicitations that you're going after. Our CRM is able to carry you from, capture all the way up until award and potentially beyond. It's customizable inherently, all the different fields, tasks, filters, views. Teams are able to customize and organize these because it's one thing to go after one opportunity, but it's a completely different thing to go after 10 all in different phases. So staying organized, up to date, making sure the whole team is working on the tasks that they need. This is all really important. It's a full suite of CRM features, everything from being able to create tasks and assign those tasks to, who's going to be in charge of a particular opportunity as well, all with the kind of customization that you would expect. Now, proposal writing is a whole hour-long conversation in itself, but our approach to it is leveraging our proposal agent to fully understand the solicitation, shred it, break it down, understand how you're going to approach potentially winning it, even down to things like evaluation factors. What we do in a single automated step that takes about 5 to 10 minutes is complete a first draft. And the way that's done is CLEATUS looks at this entire solicitation, shreds it for compliance requirements, response requirements, creates a compliance matrix, understands the eval factors, even creates a gap analysis to understand what areas of knowledge it might have a gap in about your business or you may have a gap in. Then it even formulates things like an outline, a win strategy. And with that plan in mind, which is again completely dynamic, meaning it can respond to anything, whether it's a federal RFP, RFQ, RFI, SLED source, it understands what the requirements are dynamically. So it's able to respond to anything. It's not just like tailored for one specific application. It's understanding what's required first, and then it starts to draft. It starts to create files for your submission. And you can see that all here in this screenshot. This automation, this was actually the first draft of this. Again, it built all those compliance matrices, eval factor analysis, gap analyses, and even formulated a win strategy based off of all this. And then it started writing. It started explaining, it started completing and basically checking off those requirements with its submission file. And then the agent hits a certain point where it's like, hey, there's certain things I skip, whether it's pricing or a certain element of your company that it didn't know about. And then it basically starts asking you what else it needs in order to complete it. So I always want to highlight this proposal is written with the data of this company, whether that be their win themes or their specific staffing info, their past performances, or their prior proposals. It uses all of that as context from their company knowledge base, which is called Document Hub. And it brings all that information into the proposal automatically so that this thing is tailored and compliant every time. And if there's a gap, let's say you didn't put staffing information, CLEATUS isn't going to write the staffing section. It's going to tell you, hey, I need this staffing information. I need your key personnel resumes. If you give them to me, you just provide it to the chat, and you tell it, go ahead and complete, and then it'll continue to write. So that's the thing. It's simultaneously making it easier to get that first draft, but it's also making it easier to complete. And a really good example of a workflow that we would run at this stage is maybe a red team review. Well, we would tell CLEATUS what we want in the red team review's output to be, maybe kind of a file that has all its findings or suggested improvements. And then CLEATUS would go and do that, make that red team review analysis. And then you would tell CLEATUS, great, go ahead and implement these. And CLEATUS would go make those edits, and you'll see all the version control, all the changes, everything that's made, so that you can track these additional edits as you get closer to a completed product. Then from there, export either as a PDF or a Word, and get this submitted for bid. So again, the proposal writing process not only can be automated, but can really, really maintain the compliance and tailoring elements that we need to succeed. In terms of market data, we talked about this a little bit as well, right? Awards, vehicles, agencies, competitors, contracting officers. There's millions of data points in our database. All this intelligence is organized and collected and put in such a way that the agent can query them. So if you're looking to figure out who your top competitors might be, and you need an Excel sheet with that created, or you want to figure out what are the top contracting officers that you should be building relationships with, well, CLEATUS can produce that list. It can do that research query. It can get you their contact information because all of this information is in our database, and we put an agent on top of it that can query that database. Intelligence like this, super, super valuable for any team, really looking to, again, perform a black hat analysis or understand where they should be changing their positioning. Now, when it comes to the agent itself, CLEATUS truly acts as like your own company's personal GovCon expert, whether it's the proposal agent, a custom agent that you build, or your capture agent, right? It first learns about your business. It understands your information. It understands how you operate, your methodologies, and then it goes and executes on those things. So when you tell CLEATUS to do something, it does it in your way, and it's able to output all sorts of different information in different formats, right? Whether it be documents, PDFs, Word docs. What the agent allows you to do is act as like an extension of yourself. Like every single team member on your team has an AI agent that thinks and acts like your company would and goes and executes those. This unlocks a lot of potential automations and improvements for any team member. Let's say your team has a person and they're the only person that can do the staffing portion of those proposals. Well, the agent now, armed with that information, gives anyone the ability to perform the staffing sections, the things that sometimes were locked in certain people's heads. This is how you scale. It simultaneously also allows that staffing person to perform other actions as well. And so the idea is that the agent unlocks teams and helps anybody really perform just about any task because the agent is unique to you. When it comes to the true force multiplier, though, agent steps, queries, prompts, these are like individual steps in a broader workflow. And what the workflows feature allows you to do is create those truly custom agents. Because if you wanted to create a capture agent that does bid no bid analysis and then makes decisions, really what that is it's a series of prompts in a certain order with an automated trigger with the ability to perform actions within the platform. And that's exactly what the workflow feature will do. It's going to be able to string together various different tasks, various different outputs use if-else logic to perform certain actions. And a workflow for building a capture guard or a capture bot is just as simple as telling it how you want it to perform the capture process. Tell it who it should assign as leads and what tasks it should create for your team. And then it's going to go and do that. Well, you could also tell it, hey, I want you to run every single day. I want you to run every single week. I want you to kick off the proposal at this time. And so you can truly automate now all the way from discovery up until proposal in one shot. And your team is just coming in at the moment that you need it to review that output. We have quite a few teams now that are waking up in the morning, their capture process is executed, their, proposal artifacts are created, their proposal draft is done. They wake up in the morning with the task from CLEATUS to review that output, and then they review it. So connecting to other parts of your tool stack, as well as truly automating the system, your system from A to Z is what this allows you to do, creating custom agents.
Hey, yeah, there's a question on the chat that I think would be good to address live.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I see two. Which do you think would be the best one to address?
The one with Otis, that one was from earlier on.
Mhm. Absolutely. This is a good question. So many agencies are now looking into which proposals are created using AI. How does Cletus address that? Great question. So regardless of whether you've created the proposal with AI, I think what teams and on the agency side are particularly looking at is to see if proposals are generic, right? If it's just simply a template, if the verbiage in it is rooted in anything, if it's all made up, or if there's any hallucinations. We put a ton of harnesses in place to ensure that none of those things happen. And the reason is because our agent is not writing in a vacuum, right? It's writing with a solicitation in mind. It's writing with your company's proprietary info in mind. And because of that, none of the outputs are ever going to be the same, right? Two people using CLEATUS to write the same proposal, two different companies, are going to get two completely different responses because the agent is using different information to answer. And that's exactly what it should be. That's what agencies are trying to avoid. And then, in terms of a good point to potentially take a quick pause to see if there's any other questions. I see we have a couple good questions here. One from Joseph here. Where does the company's data reside? Are your servers in the US? Yes, and yes. So all your servers are in the US, and pretty soon we'll be having a AWS GovCloud environment stood up as well. Happy to dive further and deeper into any specific questions around data hosting as well, either in a one-on-one call with our team or even in this as well. So a lot of movements there. But in terms of all of your company's data, extremely important to keep all that proprietary information clear. Essentially, this is all available on our security page as well on our website. All data is kept to your entity, meaning a agent is your agent. It's not like a central agent that's being trained. Each company has their own agent. All data is encrypted in transit and in rest. That includes like the inputs of the AI as well as its outputs. We have a few other questions coming in. We have a good question from Cindy here. If we're able to input bidding numbers with a specialty software, yeah, absolutely. In most cases, the reason why our capture engine works so well is because we've already read every solicitation before it ever gets to you. It's part of our data ingestion process. And so in something that's specialty, for example, software, we're not just going to match you with software contracts, right? You're going to specify a lot more than that in your capabilities, in your preferences, and it's going to match you with those specific requirements that actually meet those that the contracts are soliciting for your capabilities. On top of that, in our search function, when you perform those searches, again, it's searching through the documents. So we're able to find very, very specific items. At the same time, a really good workflow automation for you would be, hey, find the solicitation, which it would find, and then read through docs, scopes of work. And we have a lot of construction companies that do this with spec documents, and actually pull out and extract exact terminologies for really, really specific items. And these are really good examples of a custom workflow that something that's using just NACE codes or simply keywords isn't going to be able to address because, again, it's not in the documents. It's just kind of on the notice level. Because we're in the documents themselves, our capture, our search, all of these things benefit from that. And yeah, in terms of what we were hoping to present for the latter half of the presentation here is actually a couple live workflows. Here we have this company set up here. You can see under the automations tab that they have three workflows created, one for auto drafting a proposal and launching a review, another for capture research and proposal prep documents. So this is like those proposal artifacts that they would create prior to drafting the proposal. And then the first one is a Monday capture war room brief. So kind of in backwards order in terms of like when they would work. But you can see here that all of these workflows are super tailored to this made up firm in this demo account. We'll start with the first one. This is something I wanted to highlight as a really good example of a workflow, right? A research task. We've scheduled it to start every Monday to run at 8 a.m. and build a capture report for specific opportunities with their positioning, right? This is a custom prompt. And what it's going to be doing is performing an output and then emailing that output to this team. And so this is this used to be a person's task, but now it's being completely automated and it's producing this report. This is the actual email that came from running the automation. And again, totally custom how you want this email to come out, how you want it to research. You can see it even embeds like graphics and whatnot. And it found all the opportunities that they were looking for, right? Their top pursuits, and it sent them that a watch list as well, pulling in all the information and formatting it in the way that they want it. You can see that this is totally custom to them. And this is a good example of a report. We see this a lot where we say, hey, what do you currently do? And then we'll turn that into one of these automated workflows. And it gave their team the absolute recommendations that they need to perform this week. So really, really actionable. Show them what they should be prioritizing that week, as well as everything that might potentially be later on in the pipeline. So it's kind of highlighting things, in this case by urgency. And again, that's all determined by this custom step that is an agent step. And so again, we're going from an automated trigger to a custom AI step here to an email action. And you'll see here as hypothetically we could build onto this even further. With additional actions, additional conditions and logic like filters or if-else clauses, and that can kind of further expand on what this workflow is capable of doing. In terms of the next workflow, this is a particularly interesting one that I wanted to highlight. So this would be something that they would do more so once they've decided to bid on a job. Essentially, what that looks like is every time a contract enters a specific phase on their pipeline, meaning they click and drag it. We can see it here. They click and drag it from a certain phase on their pipeline over to another phase. CLEATUS automatically kicks off this workflow. So if we take this opportunity that they're after and put it into this pipeline phase, that will automatically trigger this workflow. And what this workflow will do is generate three documents. It will generate, see here, a detailed compliance matrix breaking down all the requirements, identifying any critical gaps, as well as highlighting like the evidence the team needs to collect. Then document two, a work breakdown, that's basically explaining make, buy, or subcontract. So it's actually helping them kind of structure how they're going to be addressing the work itself. And then a third document around their pricing strategy and historical pricing analysis. So remember, this agent step is custom. So how you want it to produce these documents is up to you. And what they've told it is we want these three documents, and this is how we want you to make them. You could have given an example, for example. In this case, their pricing strategy, they wanted to also include historical analysis, looking at our own historical data in order to produce a pricing strategy or breakdown prior to, again, building the system here. And so this is what CLEATUS will output. It will save those documents under the pursuit. So it's all tied to this specific opportunity. And then it'll email the team once this is ready, saying, hey, by the way, we're ready to move on to the next step. And what that ended up creating for this opportunity, once we open it up, right here, we've opened up the document or the solicitation here. And what it ended up creating was these three files, right? It built out the pricing document, right? Breaking down this opportunity specifically into the ways that it wanted it to break it down, highlighting some potential values found in historical data as well. And we can see, again, totally custom report. It broke it down, for example, into CLINs, which is how this solicitation ended up being. And it again produced this artifact for them immediately. Next thing it did again was create this WBS capability sourcing plan. So it's kind of like potentially their subcontracting plan, breaking down the specific items. I used to use a little wonky formatting, so like we would work on optimizing this formatting so the table came out better. But that's kind of the idea of once these workflows are created, we continue to improve them. But it exactly showed them what their subcontracting plan would be. So recommending if the company should in-house it, subcontract it, or purchase it if it's a material, or even avoid outsourcing it. So again, essentially mapping things like their staffing capabilities to their actual company capabilities as well, so that this document was created with the company in mind, right? It's not created in a vacuum. And then finally, the third document we had created completely autonomously was the compliance matrix. So it's fully putting together a matrix for them, again, in their format that they requested. We could have also told CLEATUS, hey, put this in an Excel sheet, for example. And that's what that would have done. I had told it to make it a docx, but that's kind of the idea is we're making these artifacts. And now the next workflow that we created was a proposal workflow. And this is where it kind of all comes together, right? Auto drafting a proposal. All of this has happened. We haven't even touched this opportunity yet. And now, once we review, because CLEATUS again created a task for us to review under the tasks, also nested under this opportunity, I would have been flagged and emailed to review this. And I would say, great, we're ready to move on to the next step. And I would basically drag the opportunity over to the next column. That would trigger the next workflow, which would be a proposal workflow. So that would say, hey, if in this column, start the draft, and I'd give it additional instructions on how to start that draft. Then CLEATUS would complete the proposal draft, assign a bunch of tasks to my different team members on who reviews what. And CLEATUS would automatically do all of this and then finally send an email when the proposal is drafted. And again, that would look something like this. You can see this is that same opportunity. It's now ready to be reviewed. All of its tasks have been dished out, and the ultimate proposal itself has been drafted. And so we get to this point completely autonomously, and now we're reviewing the first draft of the proposal. Curious in terms of any questions for the crowd here on potential ideas for workflows or anything like that, right? Understanding your processes first is our job, and then building these workflows to support them and automate them is ultimately what we're typically doing. Yeah, to dive a little bit deeper into this proposal as well, we obviously have a little bit more time too. What I really wanted to do was also dive straight into this proposal that it drafted. Oh, actually, really quickly, we have a great question from Ryan. No, this is not only for defense. This demo account is a just made up defense contractor. But I want to highlight that we are extremely industry agnostic, meaning any industry, any specific thing that is actually taught to the agent through your capabilities, through your document hub. So we can handle this from literally any industry, whether you're a seller of products, whether you're a seller of services. None of these things are tied to a specific industry because the way CLEATUS writes proposals is tied in the solicitation, right? The solicitation is like CLEATUS's rule book. It tells it what it needs to do. That's why it can respond to both RFQs and RFIs, for example, and RFPs. It's able to do this because it first, again, does this compliance breakdown, right? Breaks it down into a matrix, maps back those requirements to the specific source where that requirement came from, and then it identifies, is it a gap? Did I address it yet? You can see there's a couple gaps in this one. And so when I'm getting to this first draft phase, this is probably the first thing I would review. The agent also does a really good job of responding. So as it finishes this draft, it kind of highlights what it did, right? Phase one, extract requirements. Phase two, plan. Phase three, write the proposal, and now it's complete. But it says, hey, I skipped some sections, right? This is how we avoid hallucination. This is what we said. We're missing this, this, and this. And obviously, it's a made-up company, so we don't have a cage code. Makes sense. We were missing some certain POCs because I didn't upload staffing information. And it's, so it says what it skipped, and it tells you what those recommended next steps are. It's give me that information. Let's say it skipped the staffing section. What we would do is upload our key personnel resumes and then tell CLEATUS, hey, go ahead and complete that staffing section. Or maybe it wasn't sure how you were going to approach the subcontracting plan. The idea is that by explaining to the agent how we want these edits or improvements done, that's how you get them done. That's how the editing is done as well. And all of this, everything from its plan is in context with the entire proposal that's being written as well. And so let's continue going through some of these planning files. We just also went through and created this evaluation factors file where it looked through the contracts about eval factors, understanding what they are, which ones are most important. It even ran a gap analysis, understanding where there were critical gaps, as you can see here, or moderate gaps. It then produced a proposal outline, which it then followed. But of course, first understanding what are the requirements, in this case, some page limits, certain volumes that were necessary. Understanding all of this is extremely important for how it's then going to approach actually writing your proposal. It then created a requirements document, purely just listing out all the potential requirements in this, tying them all back to IDs so that you can know if they've been addressed. And this is kind of like, again, it's rule book. This is how all that shredding works. But then ultimately, a really great part of it is the win strategy, right? How are we going to approach actually positioning ourselves to win this contract? And so that's what CLEATUS is also planning in this step. And hypothetically, if you had a certain win strategy in mind prior to running this automation, that's when you customize the initial system prompt. So you tell CLEATUS, hey, start drafting this proposal. I want to highlight this win theme in mind, right? And then it would have this off the get-go. However, if you, for example, don't like this win theme and you want to change it, we would just tell CLEATUS, hey, make win theme one this. And CLEATUS would edit it. And then you'd say, great, rerun the proposal. And it would just redraft it. So that's the idea. It's extremely quick. But in this case, because we had CLEATUS create all these initial files in our earlier process, we already told it how it was going to start and do this proposal. So we've essentially gotten to this point completely naturally, automating the entire process, right? Our pricing strategy was already determined. Our capability sourcing plan was already made through our WBS breakdown. Our compliance matrix was already done as well. And so when it got to this next stage, this proposal kicked off with all of these artifacts that we had created before already in place. And that's when CLEATUS started writing the actual proposal, everything from, again, technical volumes to the proposed contractor state of work, even the cost narrative. And so we built all these things out using this kind of multiple step approach. And CLEATUS, of course, drew the majority of the information out of our company's document hub, all the knowledge, right? The past proposals, the language in these folders that we've addressed. The agent wrote with all that in mind. The agent has access to these things as well. So if we want to continue to essentially write, if we want to continue to edit, or we want to take language and terminology from another past proposal and make sure that it's incorporated into this one, your way of doing that is now just telling the agent to do that. And that's why everything is in a sandbox, right? If you told CLEATUS, hey, we want to create a final version 2, create a new file, one file with all the submission files. Well, you would just tell CLEATUS to do that. Because it's in a sandbox, it can go in here, create a folder, make a new file. It can do these for you. Operate agentically, right? Tell the agent what you want it to do. And that's exactly what CLEATUS is going to do. So that's really the backbone of the proposal writer is it's building in a sandbox and it's building with your company's knowledge base in mind. And it's, again, able to create all of this through a workflow. And I know this seems like a lot and it seems like it might have been complicated, but truly, once this is all set up, really all we're doing is just reviewing these proposals, making sure that they fit the requirements, making sure that all the information was addressed, and our ability to now go in and tell it to continue writing or to review or give us a score on how complete we are, run a gold team review. These are the kind of step processes that we would perform now once we've gotten to this stage. And ultimately, what we would love to do as a team is to speak with each and every one of you. We also do these consultative calls. You can schedule a call with our team here from our website directly to jump on a call where we'll be able to understand these processes that you currently have and then help you turn them into these. That's what our team is very good at. If you show us or tell us what you want done automatically, well, we'll find out what that is and we'll turn it into one of these or maybe a series of these. And so the idea of these workflows flexibility to perform actual actions that maybe members of your team would do is pretty unparalleled. This is really important for how teams scale because we always say this even for startups or for any business going from 0 to 1 million or 0 to 10 million is all about blood, sweat, and tears from owners and founders and individuals. But going beyond that, scaling and truly, growing is really more about systems. And these systems are the types of systems that are going to facilitate the repeated wins, the scaling, the drastic reduction of labor time required that AI truly promises, right? This is how we build them. They're structured, they're based in your knowledge base, and ultimately they're custom agents. So every customer's workflow setup is going to be a little different because it's unique to you. And that's really the most important thing that we always want to highlight with these workflows is again, they're not generic. They're operating the way you want them to. And we've seen some pretty sprawling workflows. We've seen ones that take up the entire page, all different steps, all these different scenarios, what happens when, who's assigned to what. And again, it's all based on this logic that we build for our companies, sending things like emails and notifications for reports, are ultimately simple steps. It's really these additional artifacts that are being created, as well as the proposal steps that kind of automation truly drives really a ton of value for the teams that are looking to scale and deploy AI this way. Again, these discovery calls and demo calls that we do with our clients is really indicative of really how we work with you in terms of typically getting a free trial started. In that process, what we'll do is initially understand some of your most important pain points, right? What is the current process that's taking your team 10, 20 hours a week to accomplish? Well, let's automate that one and go from there, right? We love to start from typically from capture. I'll say that's usually like our favorite place to start. But we can start with capture automations and then slowly start building that towards a proposal outcome. And as we continue to work with you, these workflows will continue to evolve. They'll get more dialed in, right? Whether it's how you capture opportunities or it's how you write proposals. The idea is that we're continuing to work with you to help leverage this technology as much as possible. And we have a few upcoming features that have been much requested that are going to be coming really soon. A form filling feature is coming soon, so even your forms will be able to be filled in CLEATUS, and CLEATUS will know when you filled them. So that's going to be another much requested feature that's coming to the platform quite soon. And with the workflows, additional steps, right? Additional actions and logic that can be built out. One thing that I want to highlight that's really cool is our agent. I want to actually expose myself a little bit for how I built these workflows. Is I actually told CLEATUS to build this workflow. I didn't build this myself. I actually this is a crazy feature here. The agent that's on every page with you is basically your new mouse and keyboard, right? You don't need to click and drag and move things around on the UI. I actually told CLEATUS that I wanted to create an impressive workflow to impress you all on how proposal drafting would go, auto proposal drafting. And you can see I told it that just simply by prompting it. And the CLEATUS agent actually put this workflow together. It just built it in front of my eyes. I went in and I like looked at it, perfected it, changed a couple of things with the email copy, but then I was like, great, this is good to go. And that's actually the crux of how this stuff is built now. Building these workflows has also never been so easy. And so if you tell CLEATUS, hey, I want a workflow that does this and outputs this and runs when this happens, it's going to build it for you. And that's, again, not something you need to be a software engineer to do anymore. And so this interface allows you to just build these workflows so quickly and effectively. You can see like this is the workflow I use to build that one that creates the WBS compliance matrix and pricing workflow or pricing analysis. I told it to build that for me. And it went ahead and built all the prep artifact workflow. So it built this. And so that's really the crux. I could say, hey, I actually wanted to, in the false scenario, do this. Like that's the idea of building these workflows is again, we make the agent do them and then we test them and we perfect them. You can see you can test workflows as well. So if you want to kind of see what those outputs are going to look like, see if they're exactly what you want or not, you continue to kind of work to perfect and dial them in. So building them even agentically is possible now too.
Yeah. I just want to add a couple more things. You can use the agent to, for example, build a saved search, then build, a trigger a workflow
Mhm.
when there are, matches from that saved search. and executes that particular, a workflow. Could be verifying those contracts in the saved search. Um, yeah, you can review your pipeline, all the recommended contracts, and say, just build a workflow for me that does this every day. Every morning, it reviews all my recommended contracts and sends me a recap of emails, or auto dismisses based on specific criterias, or routes it to your, teammates.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can plug it in back to the saved searches if you want, or recommended contracts.
Yeah,
You just have to chat with it and ask. Yeah.
that's an excellent point, right? Like CLEATUS's capture automation has recommended this company like 100 opportunities, right? Because we made this somewhat broad. I don't want to go through all these, right? I would just tell CLEATUS to go through all these. I would say, hey, CLEATUS, can you run through all 100 of my, above 80 scored opportunities and, use this logic to decide which ones should be added to my pipeline, or just simply output like a summary. Well, it would do that. But then you would say, I want you to do this now every day at 8 a.m. Bang, there's a workflow. Like that's the idea. That's how we go from a single step that automates something we do then and there to automating it forever. And that's the kind of workflows that are really, really useful. You can do these on any page, mind you. You can be on this page running a specific process right now and say, hey, wait a minute, I don't want to do this the next time. I'm going to create a workflow that does it for me. And what do? We verify the outputs. That's what the human is in the loop for, right? The human is here to maestro all these workflows that are running, all of our agents, our custom agents. I can create that custom agent and then I can monitor its output or perfect and tweak it. That's really what we're here for to build. And that's really what the human in the loop is for. Again, we have an agent over the whole platform. The agent up here is able to do what a human can do in the platform, move things around in the pipeline, summarize what's in there currently. Again, create a workflow. Lots and lots of examples as well in here. There's a little example of like some prompts that you can do, whether it's like running a market research, maybe you want a competitor analysis, like, hey, track these 10 competitors of ours, highlight if they have recent awards. That's great one time, but then you would tell Cletus, hey, I want you to run that weekly or monthly. And that's what, that's now a workflow. That's now a custom competitor research, like Black Hat agent. And again, it works the way you want it to work. And that's really how you take those things from a point solution or a one-time solution to a forever automation. And again, same thing with searching. If searching through opportunities is too much, you don't want to spend time searching through them manually, well, let CLEATUS shortlist them for you. Let CLEATUS do the review per your specific parameters and requirements. That's really what takes teams, from to the next level is these kinds of automations. And so again, it's really up to our imagination what kinds of workflows we can create. We have seen so many really interesting ones recently, especially. Whether it's like really specific to your industry, like we have a lot of construction companies that do these very detailed spec analyses. We have a lot of companies that run more on the IT side that do very specific, deep dives into the exact requirements of the solicitation to ensure that it meets their specific product or, understanding if there's an incumbent or any of these things are all things that we do now with workflows. Yeah, we have a great question here from Ryan. This is actually a really great point. So he's asking about how the human stays in the loop, right? What exactly does the human decide? Well, truly, Ryan, that's up to you. You're human. You are in the loop where you want to be, right? These automations that we created for this company have the human in the loop between automation, right? There's the capture one, there's the proposal prep one, and then there's a proposal writing one. But if you notice the triggers for these three is moving it around in your pipeline. Meaning, if I also created a task to say, review the output from this column's workflow, before putting it into the next one. That's the human reviewing. I don't have to do it that way. I could just make it run all three at the same time. But I decided internally as a team that we wanted to review these outputs. And the same thing for the proposal, right? It's not auto submitting the proposal. We wanted to review it. And so that's really the idea. The human is in the loop to where they want to be. That's actually something you build into the workflows themselves. And it's totally unique. We have some customers, they just want, just for RFIs, for example, they want the review to go all the way to the end. They want the review to be at the very, very end of it, and maybe a different process for when it's an RFP. And so this is all tailored to you and how you want to operate. because it is going to be different for every team, right? Some teams will want to leverage more automations. Other teams will want to insert their human in the loop at certain points of time. And that's, again, why the automations are inherently custom, right? It's not going to be a one size fits all solution. It's going to work and think and operate the way you want it to. And truly the human decides, right, what workflows are done, right? In terms of asking who else would verify the outputs for you, I guess in terms of humans in the loop, it'll typically be like your team, your company. So whether it's like another team member verifying certain outputs, or potentially a different agent verifying outputs, that's actually a pretty decent way to kind of have the agent self-check as well. So a couple different solutions. Typically, what we see is a pass off between team members where they're able to review the outputs from the prior step, pass it off to someone else. But again, ultimately, it's however you would like these to be set up to verify the outputs of any of these workflows. And again, Meetup's point there with custom alerts, creating custom alerts, for example, from search is a really good example of a time where an agent can be leveraged because you may not know exactly what filters you need to produce a certain search. Well, we could ask CLEATUS that question and we can tell it to perform that search. And once we're happy with the search results, we could say, hey, I want you to run this every day, or I want you to create a saved custom alert for this specific criteria. CLEATUS can make that custom alert. You can just, of course, create the filters yourself manually, but you can also, and hit that save button. But you can also tell CLEATUS to do it, and it would add the safe search here for you. Same thing goes for just about any other thing that you can perform in the platform, is you can tell the agent to do it. There's another great question from Julian there. He was asking if subcontracting opportunities are something that CLEATUS helps with, as well as finding vendors and possible partners. Yes, and yes to both. So we have proprietary subcontracting opportunities that we create ourselves, where we break down a prime contract into potential subcontracts. And if your company is interested in subcontracts, that's great. We'll tell the agent, and that's what it will find you, right? It'll find you these potential subcontracting opportunities that are tied back to the prime. And if that prime contract is awarded, well, we'll know who, we'll know for how much. All that data is linked back to the data in our platform, which is, again, in this case, award history. And you can actually go from award to contractor profile as well. And you can see we've got companies in our contractor database as well. And so the information for the contractor will be mapped back again to the data page. So if you're trying to find the contact info at the company or the particular vendor as a sub where the buyer is now another company, it's able to accommodate this workflow as well. All of those subcontracting opportunities can of course also be added to your pipeline to be tracked and worked on. And even again, great question for CLEATUS, right? If you get to a subcontracting opportunity and you're like, hey, this hasn't been awarded yet. Who do you think might potentially be bidding and tell me why? Well, CLEATUS can perform that. That's a great example of a vendor-related workflow. And then you can automate that workflow so that every time you go after a subcontract, you say, hey, for my subcontract, I want you to work this way. Create a list of potential vendors, research and find leads for their contact info. Well, you've now automated a significant portion of the research, and all you got to do now is send the emails, for example. Really, again, we've helped with so many of these scenarios at this point that when we hear a workflow like that, our mind is already running on 4 different workflows that we can create for you that'll help. And again, one singular operating system, everything from discovery, capture, all the way up until proposal, a place for your whole team to work. If you got 10, 20 people on your team, they're all going to be working here. They're all going to have their tasks. They're going to know what they need to do that day. They're going to be assigned to what they need to be assigned to. And if that is to review the outputs of a workflow, well, that's what they're going to be able to do. You're going to have as a manager or a team leader, you're going to have exactly the information you need here in one place at your fingertips with an entire pipeline that's showing you exactly what opportunities your company has at what stage and at what point in the pipeline. And I do want to highlight for any of our new users that this is a bi-weekly webinar, typically a different topic every webinar, similar format. And our team always runs these, even I think we have a good mix of existing and new users. And really, what we find them as is a great time for us to collaborate, bring out good questions. We love government contracting, we love AI, and this is the perfect combination of both. We'd love to speak with each and every single one of you via a one-on-one demo. You can schedule that directly from our website. And again, we will be circulating this recording for the call right after this so that if any of your team members were unable to join, you can share it with them as well. And again, we're very, very excited to speak with you all because there's so much we can do. There's so much that we are excited to share when it comes to new features that are coming up soon. And really, like we said, this is just the beginning of what AI can do. It's truly going to only become more autonomous, only become more advanced, and that only allows us to drive more value to your companies and your processes. So I guess what we can do for the last few minutes here is end with more Q&A if there were any other straggling questions. And again, thank you everyone for your time. It's always a pleasure to host these biweekly webinars, and we're certainly excited for the next one as always. And again, if you need a one-on-one conversation, what I'll do is just drop the link to our demo page on our website in our chat so that we can all hopefully get on a call with one of our team members and build something together. Great question from Otis here. Where does it generate the gap analysis from? So it generates it from wherever you tell it to generate it from. If you tell it generate me a gap analysis, it's going to think and think what it needs to do to accomplish that task. That's what agents do. When you give it a task, it's going to say, hey, how am I going to produce what this person wants me to produce? So it's going to depend, right? It's going to depend on what contract you ask it to do that on. Is it going to base it in the solicitation? It's also going to depend on your prompt. So if you tell it, create me a gap analysis, based on this, maybe it's a reference from your document hub, for example, it's going to do it from where you want it to. The answer with these kinds of questions is always yes and essentially. So it's going to do it the way we want it to. It's not like this is the compliance, this is the gap analysis workflow, right? It's not always the same. It's how you want it to be done. And so if you want it to be done in this specific way, well, we work that into the workflow or the prompt. And the same goes for anything. It's going to assume where it needs to be done for if you don't tell it and then proceed accordingly. But that's going to again depend on the opportunity that you ask it on, as well as what other information is available in your document hub. Oh, I'm realizing that I sent the booking link to just the panelists, so I will send that to everyone as well. So you should see that popping up in chat soon, shortly here. Alrighty. Well, I think that just about wraps up this week's webinar. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. We're happy to stay on a little bit longer to answer any additional questions from any of the viewers here. But really, again, most important thing is we want to talk to you and we want to work with you to build out these custom automations and really drive the most value possible. I see another question here. Yes, Otis, they are always the same time. So they're always going to be 2 p.m. Eastern every other Wednesday. This is also on our website. So after this webinar, the link at the top of the page will update to the next one so you can register to the next one. It will be a different link, so you'll have to re-register for each webinar. And if you're in the platform, there's actually a little Moodle at the bottom left that also highlights that webinar when it's going to be. And again, the topic will be most likely a little bit different the next one. Then I guess we have, oh, great question. This is an anonymous attendee question. Are you able to use CLEATUS for two different contracting functions? I'm going to take a limb and assume that means two different industries. So like your company may have different, like one specific process for say their construction arm and another for their healthcare or defense arm. There's multiple ways to do it. You can create multiple workspaces for this is typically done with companies with subsidiaries. So it'll be different users and different workflows for each, but they can also be migrated into the same workspace. It's actually completely up to you. If your question was more so about different like actual contracting functions, so like a capture agent, proposal agent, research agent, no, those are all done in the same workspace. So it's one account, it's one company, multiple functions, multiple agents. I would think of it that way. And another question from Ryan here about the difference between running your own agent and to basically solve what you can't solve. Obviously, it needs some more clarity in terms of like what your own technical capabilities are. But essentially, what is typically the biggest challenge in making these workflows actually effective is two things. It's first access to data, right? We have access to a lot of data, and so our workflows run with that data in mind. Now, some of that data might be provided by you, and so that is the thing that our workflows and our agents are able to do in one place, whether in this case it be the solicitation, the competitive analysis, the research. Again, building this all in a single space dedicated for this task. These agents are specifically tuned to perform these actions, right? Whether it be the custom ones we built together or the ones we've built already, like capture and proposal. That's really the typical process of hey, starting. And there's nothing wrong with doing this on your own with off-the-shelf frontier models, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. A lot of our customers initially come to us saying, hey, I was doing this with an off-the-shelf model. How do I take this to the next level, right? How do I automate this? How do I make this rigid? How do I make this a system rather than something that I am doing? That's when we start really scaling things. That's when we start building on top of really a good foundation if that is what you're currently doing. Okay, so I'm not seeing too many other questions coming in through Q&A. So I think what we will do is end this a couple minutes early. Again, appreciate everyone for your time, everyone who stuck around towards the end here. We're always eager and excited to speak with you, work with you, identify and solve problems together. And again, I hope that this has been a valuable webinar, and we very much look forward to the next one. So thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. All righty, everybody. See you in the next one. Take care.